if you're in a hurry, walk slowly. And I would add that will bring you to your destination probably quicker.
Hi, and welcome to Lead Well, the
Have you ever noticed how different it is to react to things when you're in a hurry and really going fast versus slowing down? Well, actually, when I was a kid, I remember once at school, I had a teacher and she started talking to me and she said, Christine, you remind me of a sloth. And I was really hurt by that because, yeah, she said, you're always going so slow, your reactions are slow and whatever. And I didn't feel like that at all. And the interesting thing was that whenever there was an assessment, I was probably the first one to hand it in. So that was a bit of a contradiction to me. Why would I be fast on one side and being called a sloth on the other? And I forgot about that conversation, to be honest. And when I started studying and working, I was pretty energetic and I was running around. I was doing a gazillion things to the point where I had a physical burnout. That taught me I need to slow down again. I don't know about you, but let's look into why it's so important for us humans to at least sometimes slow down. We often get more things done when we take it slowly rather than rushing around. So let's for a moment look into our brains. Well, figuratively, of course. So, what happens in our brains when we rush around versus when we slow down? You have heard me talk about the autonomic nervous system before, and this is like a pet peeve for me because I feel that so many things can be explained once we understand how our brain works and how our body reacts to what our brain does. So when we are in a rush, when we are stressed out, we are in the sympathetic system. So this is the system that helps us, of course, survive because we can run around, we can fight, we can also defend ourselves if the need be. And in today's world, we are often in this state where we are really energetic and our muscles are innervated and our muscles work well, but our brain actually doesn't. So when we are in this sympathetic state, it's more our limbic brain that is active and not so much the prefrontal cortex. That is the part of the brain that we as humans are so proud of because we can deliberately think, make decisions. And for this part of the brain to function well, we need to be in the parasympathetic state of mind. So that state of mind where the body and our mind thinks everything's good, we are safe, and we can actually spend time to take care of ourselves, our body, but also our brain can look around and have a much broader view. So this is what happens. And if we are calm, if we're slow down, this parasympathetic nervous system gets activated. And it's not that we are asleep. We are fully aware. And actually, I don't know about you, but I have experienced when I'm stressed out and when I am really angry or anxious, my view narrows and I can no longer think clearly. I get reactive, as we said last week. I'm losing this awareness of what's going on around me. And at the same time, I also lose this feeling of connections. I'm not able to build new connections when I'm so stressed out that I'm focusing so much on this one thing that is obviously a danger. At least my brain thinks so. For example, when I was writing in the past and I got frightened, I spooked. I spook as a person as well. I could no longer really help my horse stay calm because I was not calm and I was like trying to get out of the situation as quickly as possible. And today I know that slowing down and taking the time to consider the different options I have is the much better approach. Now, what is the cost of always rushing? Because we are no longer fully aware, if we rush around and try to get a lot of things done at the same time, sometimes we try to multitask, which we know doesn't work, but we still try. And so we notice less and less. That's something that makes us miss all those subtle signals in our body, in other people, and also in animals. And that is so interesting when you start working with the trust technique, and especially like I have the privilege to work pretty closely with James French, who has developed the trust technique because we are co-hosting podcasts in a video format where he is explaining his approach and where he is helping people that are sending in videos. And by working with him, by listening to him, he literally slows down so much so that he can pay attention to every single minor thing that someone else is definitely not perceiving. So we calm down, we slow down, and we have a much better perception of what's going on. Because if we run around, tension builds up. Again, reminder, sympathetic nervous system activates our muscles. So the muscle tension is higher. The brain, of course, is also under a lot of tension. And our reaction becomes, as we said last week, reactive, automatic. We're snapping at others, or we're shutting down, which is also a reaction, a stress reaction. And also overthinking starts. And yes, so when I was always running around, I actually missed what is most important in life. And I missed out the cues that my horse would give me to make me aware that she needs my help. I missed the cues of my husband. I missed the cues of my own body, obviously, because I actually was off sick for 5 months after my burnout. Thankfully enough, 2 years after I returned to work after my burnout, I discovered two great tools, I could say, methods, methodologies. And those are NeuroGraphica and the trust technique. And both of them really taught me to slow down and to listen more to my own body and my emotions, and also to others. So, with drawing, at the beginning, when I was drawing lines, I went through the page really, really quickly, and my lines didn't really look like NeuroGraphica lines, you know, those that are not looking the same in any part of their length. But if you go really slow and really focus on how you draw that line, it becomes extremely variated and really makes you think. And then in NeuroGraphica, we also always ask the 4 perception questions. So when you draw, what are you seeing on the page? What are you feeling? What are your emotions? What are you thinking about what you're seeing? Any thoughts that come up? Do you recognize something in there? Is there any meaning in there? And the 4th one, what do you feel in your body? And to me at the beginning, I'm like, I listened to everyone else in that course talking about, yeah, now I'm getting cold, now I'm getting warm and hot, and I have a food that's tingling, and you name it. And I was sitting there and I'm like, they're so completely crazy. They're just imagining that, or they're just saying that to be more interesting. And it took me quite a lot of time to be able to slow down enough to then also perceive things that were changing in my body. And thankfully enough, I also found the trust technique more or less at the same time. And in the trust technique, slowing down is the number one thing you need to do. Because if you're rushing anything in the trust technique, nothing will work. Of course, because we want to slow down our thinking so that the animal can join in and can also slow down. Because so many problems out there with dogs, with even cats and horses, of course, are because the humans around them have such a high thinking level. And so by slowing down, just slowing down, we already can solve so many issues with them. So these were the two tools that I already found so many years ago. And now this year, I found this wonderful Hanna Somatics, as I already told you, that now also teaches me to slow down my movements. And the change I have experienced from that is just fantastic. So just today, another thing happened. I had a very tense neck here, like a little knot in my musculature here. And I've had that for at least 40 years. And I can tell you, I've done so many things, massage and all types of therapies like the Novaphone, like matrix rhythm therapy, where I was even using devices trying to get rid of that strong tension in this part of my neck. Nothing worked. It was always there. Sometimes it would get smaller, sometimes it didn't help at all. And I started doing the Hanna Somatic exercise for the neck muscles just 2 days ago. And I swear this morning when I woke up, I was like touching my neck here and I couldn't find that little knot in there. And it's so amazing. And it all works because we slow down the movement in a particular way, of course. But it's so effective and it's just so amazing. So, Hanna Somatics, if you want to learn more about that, just give me a ring, just drop me an email, send me a message, because I have now finished the first part for the equine Hanna Somatics, which is for horses. And because I'm so fascinated by it, I now also started the education for human somatics, so clinical somatics for humans. And yeah, I'm all here for you because I want to share this thing that I'm so blown away by it. And of course, there are other things that I have shared with you before, but let's go back there. So breathe. Taking 3 slow breaths is enough to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. It's enough to calm down and slow you down. So, especially when you're in a conversation and you get a question, when you get an answer that puts you in a stress situation, breathe, because you can take that time to pause and make sure your brain gets time to think and not to just react. Of course, if you're practicing the trust technique already, make sure you do that on a regular basis. And you can do that, of course, with your animal, which is the most rewarding thing. But you can also do it on your own. Like when I'm driving around, I have a red light, I just sit there and get present for like the time it takes, a minute, sometimes less than that. But still, it gives me that time to recalibrate again, to slow down, to recalibrate my mind, to slow down and to be more responsive, as I said last week, rather than being reactive and rushing around. Or you can also do a gentle body check-in, like just stay there on your 2 feet. Don't try to change anything at all, but just close your eyes and walk through your body with your thoughts. Start on your feet, see where the weight is, Is it more to the front or to the back? Is one foot more weighted than the other? And then go up to your knees. Are they locked? Are they soft? Your hips, is one higher than the other? And you go through your entire body, and by just concentrating on that, again, slowing down does the trick. Now, what is the result when you're doing that? When you put in those micro resilience breaks, as I also call them, you will be able to respond instead of reacting. You will be able to feel more connected because your awareness broadens, because you're more open to perceive what's going on out there and in yourself. And you also become much more grounded and, so important these days, more emotionally resilient. Now, what's most important to remember is slowing down doesn't mean to do less. Because, as I noticed at school, even if I was appearing slow on the outside, the results I came up with were pretty fast. So it means really doing what matters and focusing on that without rushing around and being overly active, I would say. So try some of these ideas this week. Maybe start with one. Just pick one thing you want to slow down this week. And you'll be surprised because others will notice, not only yourself. And if you're living with animals, they will definitely notice too. And I would be really looking forward to hearing from you what has changed. One of the time management gurus in Germany, he has written a book, pretty successful. And the title is, If You're in a Hurry, Walk Slowly. And I would add, that will bring you to your destination probably quicker. So thanks again for this week. And I wish you a slow week, maybe with some slow cooking. So take care and speak soon. Bye for now.
This was Lead Well. Now, what is the one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Please share in the comments below and do share the podcast with your friends and family, but only if you like it.